The officer of the Speaker states a final decision has not been reached with regard to the increase of salaries for the MPs and ministers.
The Speaker's office in a statement says, as per a parliamentary proposal passed on the 23rd of November 2006, it had been decided to increase the salaries of MPs and ministers in accordance to the increase also given to judges of higher courts. The requests that have been made, citing that the MPs and ministers' salaries should be increased parallel to the salary increase granted to the judicial sector recently, have been directed to the Parliamentary General Secretary by the Speaker for observations to be made. The Speaker's office says a decision on whether the matter should be looked at as per the decision taken in 2006 or according to a separate system would be reached at the Parliamentary Party Leaders' meeting. The proposal for the increase in the salaries had been put forward by a party leader by the name of Gunawardana in the joint opposition who claims to be patriot. In 2003, UPFA former Minister Jayraj Fernandapulle put forward a proposal stating if the salaries of the judges are increased, there needs to be a parallel increase on the salaries of MPs as well. This increase is something similar and will be in accordance to the salary increase given to the judges in January. Though the matter is in the constitution, they must think about the country and the sufferings of the people and oppose this.
මේ මොහොතේ රට ගැන හිතලා ජනතාව විඳින දුක ගැන හිතලා මේක නොගැනීම සහ ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කිරීම තමයි විය යුත්තේ. කාර්යාල දීමනාව කියලා ලක්ෂයක් එකතු කරලා තියෙනවා.
100,000 rupees has been added as an office allowance. Another 1,000 rupees has been added for a separate allowance. The minimum fuel allowance for a person in Colombo is 30,949 rupees. There is a telephone allowance of 50,000 rupees. There is another 10,000 rupee as a private office allowance and 2,500 per day for attendance. If one attends Parliament for 8 days of the month, he would receive 20,000 rupees. If you collect them all, it's 266,234 rupees. This is the minimum salary of an MP. This could be cut in half by leaving aside all those allowances. We request that all these allowances be removed and a legal salary scale be imposed.
මේ නීත්‍යානුකූල ලෙස මේ වැටුප් තල සකස් කරන්න කියන ඉල්ලීම තමයි අපි කරන්නේ.
There was a large salary increase in the public servants. However, there was no increase for the MPs. There is no issue on that. We are not saying that there needs to be an increase for them. I believe the public sector ought to think more of the country and not engage in their struggles for salary increases. If this is realized, the country will be able to move forward. We request the government to double the 2,500 rupee Samruddhi allowance given to the beneficiaries rather than increasing the salaries of the MPs. If there is a proposal to increase the salaries of MPs before increasing the salaries of all other sectors, the proposal is a joke. The joint opposition and the Podujana Front opposes this move. There is a party leaders meeting and MP Dinesh Gunawardana is among them. There are members from the joint opposition in this. They must have requested for the increase since there was an increase for salaries of the judges. Then they go out and say to the media. This is their conduct. They make a proposal and then comment to the media. The Speaker of Parliament has not approved this at all.
Well, you just heard the views and comments expressed by both government and opposition politicians commenting on the proposal to increase the salaries of MPs and ministers, our public representatives. Now, if you take a look at this image right here, now a public representative or MP gets a basic salary of 54,285 rupees. They also get an allowance for an office which was recently introduced of 100,000 rupees. These public representatives also get a telephone allowance which is 50,000 rupees. The stamp duty for all their other purposes comes to around 14,500 rupees. Now they are also given a vehicle. Now for that vehicle they get a fuel allowance which is 41,890 rupees. Let's now come to the most important item for every politician and every parliamentarian and every minister, which is the vehicle they travel in. Now recently on all our news channels we add footage like this of these luxury vehicles that are moving in and out of places used by the public representatives. Now this particular footage was aired on our sister channel CSA TV, and the most of these vehicles are expensive vehicles, and one of those vehicles is something called a V8, which is used by most of the parliamentarians. parliamentarians. Now this V8 is priced around 40 million rupees at that time. Now if you take a look at the market rates right now, this V8 SUV is priced around 36 million rupees. So 36 million rupees is used by a public representative for a period of 5 years that they are serving in the House of Legislature. Now if you divide it by each year for 60 months, that figure would come up to 600,000 rupees a month. Now these public representatives are also given something called a vehicle permit. Now this vehicle permit can be sold from between 25 million rupees to 35 million rupees. And this is not a small amount, 25 million to 35 million rupees, which is given every 5 years. Now if you add this entire total together, you might understand what kind of a figure we are talking about, and you might understand how difficult it is for our public representatives also to survive. Now let's shift gears from the public representatives who get such an amount to the common people in the country, especially in the public sector. Now this right here on the screen is a pay sheet of a peon attached to the Ministry of Education who gets a basic salary of 19,440 rupees, and he takes a gross pay of 32,178 rupees. Then it's also moved to another pay slip, also from the Ministry of Education, rather, a development officer. Now this development officer is getting a basic salary of 25,686 rupees with a gross pay of 36,574. Let's move on to the pay of a teacher. The teacher who is educating the children, the future generations of this country, who will be taking over the future of this country. The basic salary of this particular teacher from the Colombo Zonal Education Office is 39,319 rupees with a gross pay of 50,866 rupees. Now this is a grade 3 teacher. The main issue that the people have is how are they going to survive with such an amount of money. Now if you take a look at the amounts that we highlighted earlier over here, you can see that these massive allowances are being collected by the public representatives at a time the people of this country are facing numerous difficulties in order to survive on a daily basis. In addition to this, they also get a fully paid vehicle from the government, that is your public funds, your money, your tax-paying money. Now, some might even bring about an argument that these MPs are attempting to get their salary increase because they want to bring a bigger pension for them when they retire after their term is over in Parliament. Now, some might even say that they're attempting to bring out this salary increase because they're not sure that the people would bring them back into power for whatever service that they have already done for the people. Now we just did a comparison between the public representatives and the employees in the public sector. Now we are not trying to compare the teacher and the public representative, because a public representative is not even close to the capabilities carried out and the duties performed by a teacher. But every single one of us have a dream of having a good meal and eventually leading a wonderful and better life in this country. As I mentioned earlier, the most favored vehicle among these public representatives is worth 36 million rupees, 600,000 per year if you calculate it up to 5 years. They also get a fuel allowance of 41,890 rupees. Don't forget, also they get that fully paid government vehicle. Now, what about the managerial levels in the private sector, the top executives in the private sector? Now, they also get a fuel allowance of around 75,000 to 125,000 rupees. But do the math, see the comparison, and then you will understand who is doing a greater service to this nation. Is it the public representative getting 600,000 a month for that vehicle, or is it the top tier executive who is just taking home allowance just above 75,000 rupees And if you do the calculations, the public representatives get almost 650,000 rupees just with that 600,000 and the fuel allowance, just because they own a vehicle. Now, the people in the private sector who showcase their wonderful lives are not entitled to these benefits that we see on screen right here. They have to work hard for what they get. Is this not a very sad situation in the country? When you compare the service done by these so-called public representatives, and when you compare the service done by the hundreds and thousands of hard-working people employed all across the private sector, do not come across a very sad situation. You will be able to identify the difference when you do the math yourself. We report and you decide.